Hello, and welcome to a top 100 project manager interview questions and answers session. In this video, we will be covering the most common questions asked during project manager interviews, as well as some tips and strategies for answering them. Whether you are a seasoned project manager or just starting out in the field, this video will provide valuable insight and preparation for your next interview. So sit back, relax, and let's dive in. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel CareersTalk and like this video if you found it helpful. Thank you for watching, and we hope you find this video useful in your career journey as a project manager. So without further delay, let's begin. The first question: tell me about yourself as a project manager. I will give you two answers. One for relatively new project manager, the less experienced one, and the other answer for experienced project manager. Firstly, we go with the less experienced project manager. I am an experienced IT project manager with over 8 years of experience in managing IT projects from concept to delivery. I have a proven track record of delivering projects on time, within budget, and to the satisfaction of all stakeholders. I've managed a total of 15 IT projects with a total budget of $5 million and a team size of 20 to 50 members. I have a success rate of 90% in delivering projects on time and within budget. I have experience in managing projects in various industries such as finance, healthcare, and e-commerce. I'm certified in project management professional and scrum master. For example, one of my most notable projects was a $2 million project for a finance company to implement a new CRM system. The project was completed on time and within budget and resulted in a 20% increase in sales for the company. Another project I managed was for a healthcare company to upgrade their electronic medical record system. The project was completed ahead of schedule and resulted in improved patient care and increased productivity for the healthcare providers. Overall, I'm an experienced, results driven IT project manager who is able to effectively manage projects from concept to delivery. I have the skills and experience necessary to deliver projects on time, within budget, and to the satisfaction of all stakeholders. The second answer will be something like this: I'm an experienced IT project manager with over 10 years of experience in managing and delivering complex IT projects. My experience includes leading cross functional teams and workers across various departments such as IT, operations, and marketing. Project management methodologies: I have experience with both agile and waterfall project management methodologies and have successfully delivered projects using both approaches. For example, I led an agile project with for a retail company that involved implementing a new e-commerce platform which was delivered on time and under budget with a budget of $1.5 million and was completed within 8 months. Budget management: I have a strong track record of managing project budgets and timelines, ensuring that projects are delivered within budget and on time. For example, I managed a project for a financial services company that had a budget of $3 million and was completed within 12 months, coming under budget and ahead of schedule. The next one is risk management. Well, I have experience in identifying and mitigating project risks, which has helped ensure project success. For example, I led a project for a healthcare company that required integrating various systems and databases, which had a high risk of data loss or corruption. I implemented a robust data migration plan and testing protocols, resulting in a successful project completion with zero data loss. The next one is the stakeholder management. In that, I have experience in managing stakeholders across various departments and levels of an organization, ensuring that all stakeholders' needs and concerns are addressed, and that projects are delivered on time and within budget. For example, I managed a project for a manufacturing company that required the company's manufacturing, inventory, and accounting systems. I worked closely in the IT, operations, and finance teams to ensure that all stakeholders' needs and concerns were addressed and that the project was completed on time and within budget. Team management. I have experience leading cross functional teams and motivating team members to deliver high quality work. For example, I managed a project for a government agency that involved upgrading the agency's IT infrastructure. I led a team of 10 IT professionals and was able to motivate the team to deliver high quality work and meet project deadlines despite the tight deadlines and limited budget. Overall, my experience as an IT project manager has given me the skills and expertise needed to manage and deliver complex IT projects on time and within budget, while ensuring that all stakeholders' needs and concerns are addressed and teams are motivated to deliver high quality work. We now move on to question number 2. How do you balance the need for thorough planning with the need for flexibility in your projects? As a project manager, balancing the need for thorough planning with the need for flexibility is crucial to the success of any project. In order to achieve this balance, I utilize a combination of different project management methodologies and tools, as well as communication and collaboration with my team members. One of the key ways I balance the need for thorough planning with the need for flexibility is by utilizing a hybrid approach of both agile and traditional project management methodologies. Agile methodologies such as Scrum prioritize flexibility and adaptability to changing requirements, while traditional methodologies such as Waterfall focus on detailed planning and execution. By combining the two, I'm able to ensure that the project is well planned and structured while also allowing for flexibility and adaptability as needed. Another way I balance the need for thorough planning with the need for flexibility is by utilizing communication and collaboration tools such as Slack and Trello to keep my team members informed and engaged in the project process. This allows for a more open and collaborative environment where team members can share ideas, provide feedback, and make adjustments as needed. Additionally, regular check ins and status updates with my team members also help me to stay informed about any changes or issues that may arise and take action accordingly. Two examples of how I have balanced the need for thorough planning with the need for flexibility in my projects include: number one, a website development project. For this project, I utilized a hybrid approach of both agile and traditional project management methodologies. I started by creating a detailed project plan and timeline, outlining the different stages of the project, such as design, development, testing, and deployment. However, I also incorporated agile practices such as daily startup meetings and sprints to ensure that the project was adaptable to changing requirements and feedback. By utilizing a combination of both methodologies, the project was completed on time and within budget, while also being able to accommodate changes or feedback that arose during the development process. A software integration project was the second one. For this project, I utilized communication and collaboration tools such as Slack and Trello to keep my team members informed and engaged in the project process. Regular check ins and status updates help me to stay informed about any changes or issues that arose and take action accordingly. Additionally, the use of Trello boards and Slack channels allowed for a more open and collaborative environment where team members could share ideas and provide feedback, which helped to ensure the project was completed on time and within budget, while also allowing for flexibility as needed. Overall, as a project manager, Balancing the need for thorough planning with the need for flexibility requires a combination of different project management methodologies and tools, as well as communication and collaboration with the team members. By utilizing a hybrid approach and utilizing communication and collaboration tools, I'm able to ensure that projects are well planned and structured while also being adaptable and flexible as needed. Let's now look at question number 3. How do you prioritize tasks and allocate resources in your projects? As a project manager, one way to prioritize tasks and allocate resources is to first create a detailed project plan that outlines all of the tasks that need to be completed, the dependencies, and the resources required to complete each task. Once this plan is in place, the project manager can then use various techniques to prioritize tasks and allocate resources. One technique is to use a method called the critical path method. This method involves identifying the tasks that are critical to the completion of the project and ensuring that they are given the highest priority and the necessary resources. For example, if a project has a hard deadline and certain tasks must be completed before that deadline in order for the project to be considered a success, the project manager would prioritize those tasks and allocate resources accordingly. Another technique is to use a method called Scrum. This is an agile framework for managing projects. In Scrum, the project manager will break down the project into smaller chunks called sprints. And at the beginning of each sprint, the team will prioritize a set of tasks to be completed during that sprint, and resources are allocated accordingly. For example, let's say a project is to develop a new software, and the project manager assigned the development of the login module as the first task and the creation of a help center as second task. After the first sprint, the team realized that the login module was the critical and blocking feature for the further development and testing. The project manager then will be able to prioritize the task of the login module by allocating more resources to the development and testing of that feature, thus completing it before moving to the next task. In summary, as a project manager, prioritizing tasks and allocating resources effectively is key to the success of a project. By using techniques such as CPM and Scrum, a project manager can ensure that tasks are completed on time and within budget by allocating the right resources to the right tasks at the right time. We're now at question number 4. How do you handle conflicts or disputes within your teams or with stakeholders? As a project manager, my approach to handling conflicts or disputes within my team or with stakeholders is to first take a step back and assess the situation objectively. This includes identifying the root cause of the conflict, gathering all relevant information and perspectives, and determining the potential impact on the project. Once I have a clear understanding of the situation, I communicate openly and honestly with all parties involved. This includes clearly stating my role and responsibilities as the project manager and setting expectations for how we will work together to resolve the conflict. In addition, I make a point to actively listen to each person's perspective and address any concerns they may have. By showing empathy and understanding, I'm able to build trust and establish a positive working relationships with all parties involved. Let's take a look at an example. One situation I faced was a dispute between two team members over the design of a project deliverable. The team member in charge of the design felt that the other team member was not contributing enough and had too many requirements for the design. The other team member felt that the design was not meeting their needs and expectations. I took a step back and assessed the situation, identifying that the root cause of the dispute was a lack of clear communication and a breakdown in the design process. I brought both team members together for a meeting to discuss the situation and establish clear expectation for the project design. We also created a shared document that outlined the design requirements and design decisions, which helped to improve communication and accountability among the teams. Another situation I faced was a dispute between my team and a key stakeholder over the scope of a project, which brings us to a second example. The stakeholder felt that the project was not meeting their needs and wanted additional features and functionality added to the project. My team felt that the additional features were not necessary and would cause delays in the project. I took a step back and assessed the situation, identifying that the root cause of the dispute was a lack of clear understanding of the stakeholders' requirements. I met with the stakeholder to understand their needs and provided them with a detailed project plan that outlined the scope of the project and the timeline for delivering the project. We also established clear communication channels and regular updates on the project to ensure that the stakeholders' needs were being met. In conclusion, as a project manager, I handle conflicts and disputes by assessing the situation object, communicating openly and honestly with all parties involved, and actively listening to each person's perspective. By taking these steps, I'm able to build trust and establish a positive working relationships with all parties involved, which ultimately leads to a successful project outcome. Question number 5 says, how do you mitigate and manage risks in your projects? As a project manager, my primary role is to mitigate and manage risks in order to ensure the successful completion of the project. There are several key steps that I take to mitigate and manage risks in my projects. Number 1, risk identification. The key step in mitigating and managing risks is to identify potential risks. This involves identifying potential sources of risk, such as changes in project scope, budget constraint, and resource availability. Number 2, risk assessment. Once potential risks have been identified, they must be assessed in order to determine the potential impact on the project. This involves assessing the likelihood of the risk occurring and the potential consequences if it does occur. Number 3, risk mitigation. Once potential risks have been identified and assessed, the next step is to implement strategies to mitigate those risks. This may involve developing a risk management plan that outlines specific actions that will be taken to mitigate the risk, such as increasing project budget or allocating additional resources. Number 4, risk monitoring and control. The final step in mitigating and managing risks is to monitor and control risks throughout the project. This may involve regularly reviewing project progress to identify potential risks and taking action to mitigate them. Two examples of risks that I have mitigated and managed in my project include the following. The first example, budget constraints. In one project, I identified a potential risk of budget constraints that could impact the project's ability to achieve its objectives. I mitigated this risk by developing a detailed budget plan that included cost saving measures, such as negotiating better prices with vendors and reducing unnecessary costs. Number 2, scope changes. In another project, I identified a potential risk of scope changes that could delay project completion. I mitigated this risk by implementing a change management process that required all scope changes to be reviewed and approved by a dedicated change management team. This helped to ensure that scope changes were thoroughly evaluated and managed in a timely manner, minimizing the risk of delays. Question number 6. How do you handle difficult team members or stakeholders? As a project manager, dealing with difficult team members or stakeholders can be a challenging task. However, it is essential part of the job and requires a strategic approach to handle effectively. Here are two examples of how I handle difficult team members or stakeholders. Well, firstly, for difficult team members. In one of my projects, I had a team member who was consistently missing deadlines and not communicating effectively. I realized this was not only impacting the project's process, but also affecting the morale of the rest of the team. I approached the team member and had an open and honest conversation about the performance. I also provided feedback and suggestion on how they could improve. We also set clear goals and expectations, and I closely monitored their progress. As a result, the team members' performance improved and the project was completed successfully. The second one is with difficult stakeholders. In another project, I had a stakeholder who was continually changing the requirements and expectations. This was causing delays and added costs to the project. I realized that this was due to the stakeholders' lack of understanding of the project scope and objectives. I scheduled a meeting with the stakeholder and effectively communicated the project scope, objectives, and limitations. I also provided clear and regular updates on the project's progress and sought their input and feedback through the project. As a result, the stakeholders' expectations were aligned with the project scope and the project was completed on time and within budget. In conclusion, handling difficult team members or stakeholders requires clear communication, open and honest conversations, and a proactive approach to identifying and addressing issues. It is also essential to set clear goals, expectations, and monitor progress, and regular updates to keep everyone aligned and focused on achieving the project's objectives. Let's look at question number 7 then. How do you communicate with your team and stakeholders effectively? As a project manager, effective communication is crucial for the success of the project. To communicate effectively with my team and stakeholders, I use a combination of different communication methodologies and strategies. First, I establish clear and regular lines of communication. This includes setting up regular team meetings, both in person and virtual, to discuss progress, share updates, and address any issues that may arise. I also make sure to have open and responsive channels of communication, such as email and instant messaging, so that team members and stakeholders can reach me when they need to. Second, I make sure to communicate information in a clear and concise manner. This includes breaking down complex information into smaller chunks and providing visual aids, such as charts and diagrams, to make it easier for team members and stakeholders to understand. I also make sure to use language that is easy for everyone to understand and avoid using technical jargon. Third, I use active listening skills. This is crucial for understanding the concerns and needs of my team and stakeholders. I make sure to give my full attention when they speak and ask clarifying questions to ensure that I understand their perspective. In terms of examples, in my last project, I had a diverse team of individuals with different cultural backgrounds. To ensure effective communication, I made sure to establish clear lines of communication, such as regular team meetings, and also made sure to provide translated materials for team members who were not fluent in English. This helped to ensure that everyone was on the same page and was able to contribute to the project effectively. In a recent project, I had a difficult stakeholder who was not satisfied with the progress of the project. To effectively communicate with this stakeholder, I made sure to be transparent about the project's progress and address any concerns they had in a timely manner. I also made sure to use clear and concise language when communicating with them and provide visual aids, such as Gantt charts, to demonstrate the progress of the project. This helped to alleviate their concerns and regain their trust in the project. Overall, effective communication is crucial for the success of a project. And as a project manager, I make sure to use a combination of different communication methods and strategies to ensure that my team and stakeholders are informed, engaged, and on the same page. I hope that answer was clear. Now we have question number 8. How do you ensure project deliverables are completed on time and meet quality standards? As a project manager, there are several steps that I take to ensure project deliverables are completed on time and meet quality standards. First, establish clear project objectives and timelines. I work with the project team to create a detailed project plan, which includes specific tasks, deadlines, and deliverables. I also establish clear quality standards and make sure that everyone in the team is aware of them. Next, I monitor the progress of the project on a regular basis. I use project management software to track the status of tasks and deliverables, and I hold regular team meetings to discuss progress and address any issues that arise. I also conduct regular reviews of deliverables to ensure they meet established quality standards. In addition, I use a variety of tools and techniques to manage risks and mitigate issues that might impede progress. For example, I may use a Gantt chart to identify potential bottlenecks or delays, and I may use a risk management plan to address potential risks before they become problems. I also communicate effectively with all stakeholders, keeping them informed of progress, issues, and changes to the project plan. This ensures that everyone is aware of what is happening, and it allows stakeholders to provide feedback and make adjustments as needed. Two examples of how I have applied these steps to ensure project deliverables were completed on time and met quality standards are: on a website redesign project, I established clear project objectives and timelines and created a detailed project plan with specific tasks, deadlines, and deliverables. I also established clear quality standards, which included usability and accessibility guidelines. I monitored progress regularly, held team meetings, and conducted regular reviews of deliverables to met the established quality standards. Additionally, I used a Gantt chart to identify potential bottlenecks and delays, and I used a risk management plan to address potential risks. The project was completed on time and received positive feedback from the client. On a software development project, I established clear project objectives and timelines and created a detailed project plan with specific tasks, deadlines, and deliverables. I also established clear quality standards, which included code review and testing protocols. I monitored progress regularly, held team meetings, and conducted regular reviews of deliverables to ensure they met the established quality standards. Additionally, I used a Gantt chart to identify potential bottlenecks and delays, and I used a risk management plan to address and attempt properly the potential. The project was completed on time, and the software was successfully deployed and received positive feedback from users. Question number 9. How do you handle unexpected setbacks or delays in your projects? As a project manager, unexpected setbacks or delays in a project can be frustrating and stressful. However, it is important to approach these challenges with a calm and professional attitude in order to effective solutions. One key strategy is to thoroughly access and assess the situation and identify the root cause of the setback or delay. This could include analyzing project timelines, budgets, and resources, as well as identifying any external factors that may have contributed to the problem. Once the cause of the setback or delay has been identified, the next step is to develop an action plan to address it. This may involve revising project timelines, budgets, and resources, or finding creative solutions to overcome any roadblocks. It is important to involve all relevant stakeholders in this process and to communicate any changes or updates clearly and regularly. Additionally, effective risk management is critical to preventing and mitigating unexpected setbacks or delays. Regularly and assessing project risks, as well as developing and implementing contingency plans, can help to mitigate the impact of potential problems. Let's now look at some of the examples. On a recent project, our team encountered a delay in receiving necessary equipment from a vendor. To address this issue, we worked closely with the vendor to understand the reasons for the delay and to expedite the delivery to the equipment. Additionally, we revised the project timeline to accommodate the delay and found ways to continue progress on other tasks while we waited for the equipment. During the implementation phase of another project, we encountered unexpected technical difficulties that hindered progress. This is a second example. We assembled a troubleshooting team to identify the cause of the problem and to develop solutions. Through this process, we discovered that some of the hardware we were using were incompatible with the software we were implementing. We quickly sourced new hardware and revised the project timeline and resources accordingly, which helped to minimize the impact of the setback. Hope this answer was clear to all of you. Question number 10. How do you stay organized and manage multiple projects at once? As a project manager, staying organized and managing multiple projects at once is crucial to ensure the success of each project and the overall efficiency of my team. Here are a few strategies I use to stay organized and manage multiple projects at once. Number 1. Utilizing project management software. I use project management software like Asana, Trello, or Microsoft Project to keep track of the progress of each project. These software help me to create a clear visual representation of each project, including tasks, milestones, and deadlines. This allows me to easily see which tasks are completed and which tasks are yet to be done, as well as any potential roadblocks that need to be addressed. Number 2. Prioritizing tasks. I prioritize tasks based on the importance and urgency. This helps me to focus on the most critical tasks first and ensure that nothing falls through the cracks. I also keep a constant lookout for tasks that can be delegated to other team members or outsourced to external partners. Let's look at two examples. Number 1. Recently, I managed a project for a client who needed a new website built. This project had a tight deadline and required the collaboration of multiple teams. To stay organized, I utilized Asana to create a task list for each team and set clear deadlines. I also held daily stand up meetings to ensure that everyone was on track and to address any issues that arose. This helped me to stay on top of the project and deliver it on time. Example 2. Another project I recently managed was for a client who needed a new software system to be developed. This project required the coordination of multiple teams, including developers, designers, and QA testers. To manage this project, I utilized Microsoft Project to create a Gantt chart, which helped me to see the overall progress of the project. I also held weekly status meetings to ensure that all teams were on track and to address any issues that arose. This helped me to stay on top of the project and deliver it on time. Overall, staying organized and managing multiple projects at once requires a combination of using the right tools and techniques, as well as clear communication and consistent monitoring of process. With these strategies in place, I'm able to stay on top of all of my projects and ensure their success. Friends, we have covered 10 project manager interview question and answers till now. Before we move on to the next question, please hit that like button to support the channel. Moving on to question number 11. How do you handle changes in project requirements or scope? As a project manager, it is important to have a clear process for handling changes in project requirements or scope. This process should include the following steps. Number identification. The first step is to identify the change request and determine whether it is a minor or major change. A minor change would typically involve a small adjustment to an existing requirement, while a major change would involve a significant alteration to the project scope or objectives. Number 2, evaluation. The next step is to evaluate the change request to determine its impact on the project. This includes assessing the impact on project timelines, costs, resources, and deliverables. Number 3, approval or rejection. After evaluating the change request, the project manager must determine whether to approve or reject it. If the change is deemed to be beneficial and is in line with the project objectives, it will be approved. If the change is deemed to be too costly or would significantly alter the project scope, it will be rejected. Number 4. Planning and implementation. If the change request is approved, the project manager must develop a plan for implementing the change. This plan should include updated timelines, costs, and resource requirements. The change should then be implemented in a controlled and orderly manner, ensuring minimal impact on the rest of the project. Number 5. Monitoring and control. After the change has been implemented, the project manager must monitor the progress and impact of the change. Any further adjustments may need to be made as needed. Let's take a few examples. Number 1. Change of scope. Let's say the project manager is in charge of building a website for a small business, and the scope of the project is to build a simple informational site. Halfway through the project, the business owner decides they want to include an online store as well. The project manager will have to evaluate the impact of this change on the project timelines, costs, and the resources required. After approval, the project manager will have to plan how to implement the change and how it would be integrated within the current project structure. Number 2. Changes in resource availability. Let's say the project manager is in charge of a construction project, and halfway through the project, one of the key workers who was in charge of a specific aspect of the project leaves the company. The project manager will have to evaluate the impact of this change on the project timelines, costs, and the resources required. After approval, the project manager will have to plan how to implement the change, and the new worker will have to be trained on the specific tasks required on the current project. In both examples, project managers have to have a clear process of communication and negotiation with the stakeholders and sponsors in order to handle any changes that arise. I hope that answer was clear. Let's have a look at question number 12. How do you handle budget constraints and cost overruns in your projects? As a project manager, handling budget constraints and cost overruns is a critical aspect of project management. The following is an overview of the strategies I use to manage budget and costs, as well as two examples of how I have applied these strategies in real world projects. Number 1. Establish clear project budget and cost estimates. One of the most important steps in managing budgets and costs is to establish clear budgets and cost estimates at the beginning of a project. This includes identifying all project costs, such as materials, labor, and overhead, and establishing a detailed project budget that includes contingencies for unexpected expenses. This allows me to anticipate potential cost overruns and take steps to prevent them before they occur. Number 2. Monitor project costs and progress regularly. Another key strategy is to monitor project costs and progress regularly. This includes tracking actual costs against the project budget and identifying any variance that may indicate a potential cost overrun. By regularly monitoring project costs, I can quickly identify and address any issues that may arise, such as cost overruns or delays. Let's have a look at some of the examples. Example 1. I was a project manager for a construction project that involved building a new office complex. One of the biggest challenges we faced was managing the project budget. To address this, we established a detailed project budget that included contingencies for unexpected expenses. We also closely monitored project costs and progress on a regular basis, which allowed us to identify potential cost overruns early on and take steps to address them before they became a major issue. Ultimately, we were able to complete the project on time and within budget. Example 2. I was a project manager for a software development project that had a tight deadline and budget. One of the biggest challenges we faced was managing the cost of external contractors. To address this, we closely monitored the work of our contractors and established clear project milestones and deadlines to ensure that we were only paying for the work that was needed. We also established a detailed project budget that included contingencies for unexpected expenses. By closely monitoring project costs and progress, we were able to complete the project on time and within budget. In conclusion, managing budgets and costs is a critical aspect of project management. As a project manager, I use a combination of strategies such as establishing clear project budgets and cost estimates, monitoring project costs and progress regularly, and addressing potential cost overruns early on to ensure that projects are completed on time and within budget. We're now at question number 13. How do you measure project success and report progress to stakeholders? As a project manager, measuring project success and reporting progress to stakeholders is a critical aspect of my role. There are several ways to measure project success and report progress, but I will discuss two common methods: using key performance indicators and providing regular status updates. Number one, using key performance indicators. KPIs are quantifiable metrics that are used to measure the performance of a project and determine if it is meeting its objectives. Some common KPIs for project management include: number one, schedule performance. This measures how well the project is meeting its timeline. This can be measured by comparing the planned schedule to the actual schedule. Number two, budget performance. This measures how well the project is managing its budget. This can be measured by comparing the planned budget to the actual budget. Number three, quality performance. This measures how well the project is meeting its quality standards. This can be measured by comparing the planned quality standards to the actual quality standards. Let's have a look at an example. A construction project has a budget of, let's say, $1 million dollars, and a planned completion date is 12 months. The project manager is responsible for managing the budget and ensuring that the project is completed on time. The project manager is monitoring the following KPIs. Point number one, schedule performance. The project manager compares the planned schedule to the actual schedule and finds that the project is on schedule. Number two, budget performance. The project manager compares the planned budget to the actual budget and finds that the project is over budget by $50,000. The project manager will investigate the cause and take corrective actions to get the project back on budget. Number three, quality performance. The project manager compares the planned quality standards to the actual quality standards and finds that the project is meeting its quality standards. Let's have a look at another example. A software development project has a planned completion date of 6 months and a budget of $500,000. The project manager is responsible for managing the budget and ensuring that the project is completed on time. The project manager is monitoring the following KPIs. Number one, schedule performance. The project manager compares the planned schedule to the actual schedule and finds that the project is behind schedule by 2 weeks. The project manager will investigate the cause and take corrective actions to get the project back on schedule. Number two, budget performance. The project manager compares the planned budget to the actual budget and finds that the project is on budget. Number three, quality performance. The project manager compares the planned quality standards to the actual quality standards and finds that the project is not meeting the quality standards. The project manager will investigate the cause and take corrective actions to improve the project's quality. Providing regular status update. Well, another way to report progress to stakeholders is by providing regular status updates. This can be done through written reports, email updates, or verbal presentations. A regular status update should include the following information. Number one, project status. The current status of the project, including progress made, remaining tasks, and any issues or risks. Number two, budget and schedule status. The current budget and schedule status, including any variances from the planned budget and schedule. Number three, risk status. A summary of the current risks and any actions taken to mitigate them. Example 1. A project manager is responsible for delivering a software development project to a client. The project manager provides the client with a weekly status update that includes the following information. That is, number one, project status. The project manager reports that the project is currently 50% complete and that the team is currently working on the user interface design. The project manager also reports that there are no major issues or risks. Number two, budget and schedule status. The project manager reports that the project is on budget and on schedule. Number three, risk status. The project manager reports that there are no major risks at this time, but the team is closely monitoring the potential risk of delays due to dependency on third party software. The project manager reports that the team has a plan to place to mitigate this risk. Example 2. A project manager is responsible for delivering a construction project to a client. The project manager provides the client with a monthly status update that includes the following information. Number 1. Project status. The project manager reports that the project is currently 75% complete and that the team is currently working on the electrical and plumbing systems. The project manager reports that there are no major issues or risks at this time, but that there have been some minor delays due to weather conditions. Number 2. Budget and schedule status. The project manager reports that the project is currently over budget by 5%, but that the team has a plan in place to get to the project back on budget. The project manager also reports that the project is currently behind schedule by 2 weeks, but that the team has a plan to place to get the project back on schedule. Number 3, risk status. The project manager reports that there are no major risks at this time, but that the team is closely monitoring the potential risk of delays due to unexpected site conditions. The project manager reports that the team has a plan in place to mitigate this risk. In conclusion, as a project manager, it is important to measure project success and report progress to stakeholders through the use of KPIs and regular status updates. These methods help to ensure that the project is meeting its objectives, managing its budget and schedule, and mitigating any risks that may arise. By staying on top of these metrics and regularly reporting stakeholders, project managers can keep stakeholders informed and ensure that the project is successful. We're now at question number 40. How do you handle project requests that are outside of your scope or expertise? As a project manager, it is important to understand the scope of the project and the expertise of the team members in order to effectively manage project requests that fall outside of the scope or expertise. One approach to handling such requests is to clearly communicate the project scope and team expertise to the requester and help them understand how the request fits into or diverges from that scope or expertise. This can help the requester understand the limitations and potential challenges of the request and potentially adjust the expectations accordingly. For example, let's say a client requests that a website design project includes the development of a complex e commerce platform, but the project scope and team expertise do not include e commerce development. As the project manager, I would explain to the client that while we are able to provide a high quality website design, e commerce development is outside of our scope and expertise and would require additional resources and time. I would also provide alternative solutions, such as recommending an e commerce provider that we can integrate into the website. Another approach is to work with the requester to identify potential solutions within the scope and expertise of the team. For example, let's say a client requests a project to develop a mobile application, but the project scope and team expertise are focused on web development. As the project manager, I would work with the client to understand their specific needs and requirements for the mobile application and then explore potential solutions within our team's web development expertise. This could include developing a mobile responsive website or utilizing web technologies such as progressive web app, which can provide similar functionality to a mobile application. In both examples, the key is to be transparent and proactive in communicating with the requester and to work collaboratively to identify solutions that meet the needs while also fitting within the scope and expertise of the project and team. Question number 15. How do you handle project dependencies and ensure that they are properly managed? Here's how you can answer this question. As a project manager, managing project dependencies is a crucial aspect of ensuring project success. Project dependencies refer to the relationships between tasks, activities, or deliverables that need to be completed in a specific order or within a specific time frame for the project to be successful. There are several strategies I use to handle project dependencies and ensure they are properly managed. Number one, identify and document project dependencies. The first step in managing project dependencies is to identify and document them. This can be done by creating a project schedule that includes all the tasks, activities, and deliverables, and then mapping out the dependencies between them. This helps to ensure that everyone on the team understands the relationships between tasks and can plan accordingly. Number two, communicate and coordinate with project stakeholders. Another important step in managing project dependencies is to communicate and coordinate with project stakeholders. This includes identifying any external dependencies, such as vendor deliverables, and working with stakeholders to ensure that these are completed on time. It also involves regularly updating stakeholders on the status of project dependencies and addressing any issues or delays that arise. Proactively managing and mitigating risk is another point that should be kept in mind. To handle project dependencies properly, it is also necessary to proactively manage and mitigate risks. This includes monitoring project dependencies for potential delays or issues and taking steps to prevent or mitigate them, such as creating a risk management plan or implementing a contingency plan. Let's have a look at two examples. Example number one. On a recent construction project I was managing, one of the dependencies was the completion of the foundation project before the construction of the building could commence. To ensure that this dependency was properly managed, I communicated with the foundation subcontractor to ensure that they understood the importance of completing the work on time. I also coordinated with the building contractor to ensure that they had a clear understanding of the timeline for the foundation work and the potential impact on the overall project schedule if there were any delays. Additionally, I created a risk management plan that included contingencies in case the foundation work was delayed. The second example, in another project I was managing, an e-commerce platform development project, one of the dependencies was the integration of the payment gateway. To ensure that this dependency was properly managed, I identified the external vendor responsible for the payment gateway integration and established clear communication channels with them. I also tracked the progress of the integration work and proactively managed any risks that arose, such as a delay in the integration testing. Additionally, I implemented a contingency plan to ensure that the project could still be completed on time, even if there were unexpected delays with the payment gateway integration. In conclusion, managing project dependencies is a critical aspect of ensuring project success. By identifying and documenting project dependencies, communicating and coordinating with project stakeholders, and proactively managing and mitigating risks, project managers can handle project dependencies effectively and ensure that the project is completed on time and within budget. Question number 16. How do you handle unexpected challenges or obstacles that arise in your projects? As a project manager, I have developed a process for handling unexpected challenges or obstacles that arise in my projects. The first step I take is to assess the situation and determine the extent of the challenge or obstacle. This includes identifying the root cause, determining the impact of the project, and evaluating the potential solutions. Once I have a clear understanding of the situation, I then communicate with my team and stakeholders to develop a plan of action. This includes outlining the steps we need to take to address the challenge or obstacle, identifying any resources we may need, any setting timelines for completion. To illustrate this process, I will provide two examples of unexpected challenges or obstacles that I have encountered in my projects and how I handled them. Example number one, a delay in the delivery of a critical component. During a project to develop a new product, we encountered a delay in the delivery of a critical component. The component was crucial to the functionality of the product, and without it, we could not move forward with testing and final assembly. To handle this challenge, I immediately assessed the situation to determine the extent of the delay and the impact on the project timeline. I then communicated with my team and stakeholders to develop a plan of action. We identified a potential alternative supplier who could provide the component in a shorter time frame and reached out to them to see if they would accommodate our needs. Additionally, we identified other tasks that we could begin working on while we waited for the component to arrive, such a testing of other components or finalizing documentation. In the end, the alternative supplier was able to deliver the component in a shorter time frame, and we were able to continue with the project as planned. The second example, a change in project scope. During a project to develop a new software application, we encountered a change in project scope. The client requested additional features and functionality that were not originally included in the scope of the project. To handle this challenge, I immediately assessed the situation to determine the extent of the change in scope and the impact on the project timeline and budget. I then communicated with my team and stakeholders to develop a plan of action. We identified the additional resources that would be required to implement the new features and functionality and developed a new project plan and budget. Additionally, we worked with the client to ensure that their requirements were fully understood and that we could deliver a final product that met the needs. In the end, the project was successfully completed on time and within budget, and the client was satisfied with the final product. In conclusion, as a project manager, I handle unexpected challenges or obstacles by first assessing the situation and then communicating with my team and stakeholders to develop a plan of action. This allows us to effectively address any issues that may arise, and it ensures that the project stays on track and is completed successfully. Question number 17. How do you handle changes in project requirements or scope? As a project manager, it is important to have clear communication and documentation when changes in project requirements or scope occur. The following are steps I typically take to handle this in project requirements or scope. Number one, understand the change. The first step is to understand the change and its implications on the project. I would gather information from the stakeholders and team members to understand the reasons for the change, its impact on the project schedule and budget, and the level of effort required to implement it. Number two, evaluate the change. Once I have a clear understanding of the change, I would evaluate it to determine its impact on the project. This includes analyzing the risks and benefit of the change and determining if it is aligned with the project goals and objectives. Number three, communicate the change. After evaluating the change, I would communicate it to the stakeholders and team members. This includes providing clear explanations of the change and its impact on the project, as well as discussing any potential issues or concerns. I would also work with the team to develop a plan to implement the change and update the project schedule and budget accordingly. Let's have a look at two of the examples in the field. Number one, during a construction project, the client decided to change the layout of the building and add an additional floor to the structure. This change would require additional materials, labor, and time to complete. As the project manager, I first evaluated the change to determine the impact on the project. I determined that the additional floor would increase the cost and duration of the project. However, I also found that the change would increase the building's value and appeal to potential tenants. After communicating the change with the stakeholders and team, we developed a plan to implement the change and update the project schedule and budget accordingly. The second example, during a software development project, the client requested an additional feature that was not included in the original scope of the project. As the project manager, I first evaluated the change to determine its impact on the project. I determined that the additional feature would require additional resources and time to complete. However, after consulting with the team, I found that the feature was essential for the product to be successful in the market. After communicating the change with the stakeholders and team, we developed a plan to implement the feature and update the project schedule and budget accordingly. In conclusion, handling changes in project requirements or the scope is an integral part of project management. By understanding, evaluating, and communicating the changes, a project manager can minimize the impact of these changes on the project schedule and budget while ensuring that the project remains aligned with the goals and objectives of the stakeholders. I hope that answer was clear. We're now at question number 18. How do you measure project success and report progress to stakeholders? As a project manager, measuring project success and reporting progress to stakeholders is a critical aspect of my role. There are several ways to measure project success and report progress, but I will discuss two common methods: using key performance indicators and providing regular status updates. Number one, using key performance indicators. KPIs are quantifiable metrics that are used to measure the performance of a project and determine if it is meeting its objectives. Some common KPIs for project management include: number one, schedule performance. This measures how well the project is meeting its timeline. This can be measured by comparing the planned schedule to the actual schedule. Number two, budget performance. This measures how the project is managing its budget. This can be measured by comparing the planned budget to the actual budget. Number three, quality performance. This measures how well the project is meeting its quality standards. This can be measured by comparing the planned quality standards to the actual quality standards. Let's have a look at an example. A construction project has a budget of, let's say, $1 million dollars, and a planned completion date is 12 months. The project manager is responsible for managing the budget and ensuring that the project is completed on time. The project manager is monitoring the following KPIs. Point number one, schedule performance. The project manager compares the planned schedule to the actual schedule and finds that the project is on schedule. Number two, budget performance. The project manager compares the planned budget to the actual budget and finds that the project is slightly over budget by $50,000. The project manager will investigate the cause and take corrective actions to get the project back on budget. Number three, quality performance. The project manager compares the planned quality standards to the actual quality standards and finds that the project is meeting its quality standards. Let's have a look at another example. A software development project has a planned completion date of 6 months and a budget of $500,000. The project manager is responsible for managing the budget and ensuring that the project is completed on time. The project manager is monitoring the following KPIs. Number one, schedule performance. The project manager compares the planned schedule to the actual schedule and finds that the project is behind schedule by 2 weeks. The project manager will investigate the cause and take corrective actions to get the project back on schedule. Number two, budget performance. The project manager compares the planned budget to the actual budget and finds that the project is on budget. Number three, quality performance. The project manager compares the planned quality standards to the actual quality standards and finds that the project is not meeting the quality standards. The project manager will investigate the cause and take corrective actions to improve the project's quality. Providing regular status update. Well, another way to report progress to stakeholders is by providing regular status updates. This can be done through written reports, email updates, or verbal presentations. Status update should include the following information. Number one, project status. The current status of the project, including progress made, remaining tasks, and any issues or risks. Number two, budget and schedule status. The current budget and schedule status, including any variances from the planned budget and schedule. Number three, risk status. A summary of the current risks and any actions taken to mitigate them. Example 1. A project manager is responsible for delivering a software development project to a client. The project manager provides the client with a weekly status update that includes the following information. That is, number 1, project status. The project manager reports that the project is currently 50% complete and that the team is currently working on the user interface design. The project manager also reports that there are no major issues or risks. Number 2, budget and schedule status. The project manager reports that the project is on budget and on schedule. Number 3, risk status. The project manager reports that there are no major risks at this time, but the team is closely monitoring the potential risk of delays due to dependency on third party software. The project manager reports that the team has a plan to place to mitigate this risk. Example 2. A project manager is responsible for delivering a construction project to a client. The project manager provides the client with a month status update that includes the following information. Number 1. Project status. The project manager reports that the project is currently 75% complete and that the team is currently working on the electrical and plumbing systems. The project manager reports that there are no major issues or risks at this time, but that there have been some minor delays due to weather conditions. Number 2, budget and schedule status. The project manager reports that the project is currently over budget by 5%, but that the team has a plan in place to get to the project back on budget. The project manager also reports that the project is currently behind schedule by 2 weeks, but that the team has a plan to place to get the project back on schedule. Number 3, risk status. The project manager reports that there are no major risks at this time, but that the team is closely monitoring the potential risk of delays due to unexpected site conditions. The project manager reports that the team has a plan in place to mitigate this risk. In conclusion, as a project manager, it is important to measure project success and report progress to stakeholders through the use of KPIs and regular status updates. These methods help to ensure that the project is meeting its objectives, managing its budget and schedule, and mitigating any risks that may arise. By staying on top of these metrics and regularly reporting stakeholders, project managers can keep stakeholders informed and ensure that the project is successful. We're now at question number 19. How do you manage your time and prioritize tasks effectively? As a project manager, managing time and effectively prioritizing tasks is crucial for the success of a project. Below are some strategies that I personally use to manage my time and prioritize tasks effectively, along with two examples of how I have applied these strategies in past projects. Number one, create a project plan and schedule. Before starting a project, I create a project plan that includes a detailed schedule of all tasks and their deadlines. This helps me stay on track and make sure that I'm utilizing my time effectively. Number 2, prioritize tasks using the Eisenhower matrix. The Eisenhower matrix is a tool that helps me prioritize tasks based on their urgency and importance. I categorize tasks into four quadrants: urgent and important, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, and neither urgent nor important. This helps me prioritize the most important tasks that need to be completed first and that can be deferred until later. Let's have a look at two examples. Example 1. In a previous project, I was leading the development of a new software application for a client. The project was on a tight deadline, and there were many tasks that needed to be completed. I used the Eisenhower matrix to prioritize tasks and was able to complete the project on time. Example 2. In another project, I was managing the implementation of a new networks infrastructure for a company. There were many tasks that needed to be completed in order to get the network up and running, but not all of them were equally important. Using the Eisenhower matrix, I was able to prioritize the most important tasks and ensure that the network was implemented on time and on budget. Use a task management tool. I use a task management tool to keep track of all tasks and deadlines. This helps me stay organized and ensure that I'm not missing any important tasks. Number 3. Schedule regular meetings. I schedule regular meetings with my team to review progress and ensure that everyone is on track. This helps me stay informed about the progress of the project and make adjustments as needed. Number 4. Delegate tasks. I delegate tasks to team members when appropriate. This helps me manage my time more effectively and allow team members to take ownership of the project. In conclusion, as a project manager, it is important to create a project plan and schedule. Prioritize tasks using the Eisenhower matrix. Use a task management tool. Schedule regular delegate tasks when appropriate. By following these strategies, I'm able to manage my time and prioritize tasks effectively, ensuring the success of my projects. Question 20. How do you handle project dependencies and ensure they are properly managed? As a project manager, managing project dependencies is a crucial aspect of ensuring the successful completion of a project. Project dependencies refer to the tasks or deliverables that are required to be completed before other tasks or deliverables can begin. Properly managing these dependencies is crucial in ensuring that the project is completed on time and within budget. One way to manage project dependencies is through the use of a project management tool such as Microsoft Project. This tool allows project programmers to manage and create a detailed project plan that includes all of the tasks, deliverables, and dependencies. The tool also allows project managers to assign resources to tasks and track the progress of the project. By using this tool, project managers can identify any potential delays or issues and make adjustments to the project plan as necessary. Another way to manage project dependencies is through the use of a Gantt chart. A Gantt chart is a visual representation of a project plan and shows the start and end dates for each task, as well as the dependency between tasks. This can help project managers to identify any potential conflicts or issues with the project plan. Project managers can then use the Gantt chart to make adjustments to the project plan as necessary. For example, in a construction project, a dependency may be the foundation must be poured before the framing can begin. By using a project management tool or Gantt chart, the project manager can easily see this dependency and make sure that the foundation is poured before the framing begins. This ensures that the project stays on schedule and prevents delays in the overall completion of the project. Example is in software development. A dependency may be that the front end design must be completed before the back end coding can begin. By using a project management tool or Gantt chart, the project manager can easily see this dependency and make sure that the front end design is completed before the back end coding begins. This ensures that the project stays on schedule and prevents delays in the overall completion of the project. In conclusion, managing project dependencies is a crucial aspect of ensuring the successful completion of a project. By using project management tools and Gantt charts, project management can easily identify and manage project dependencies, making sure that the project stays on schedule and is completed within budget. We're now at question number 21. How do you keep track of project progress and adjust plans as needed? As a project manager, there are several key strategies and tools that I use to keep track of project progress and adjust plans as needed. Two examples of these strategies and tools include utilizing project management software and holding regular progress meetings. First, I utilized project management software to keep track of project progress. This software allows me to create detailed project plans and schedules, assign tasks to team members, and track the status of each task. It also allows me to set milestones and deadlines, which helps me to monitor progress and make adjustments as needed. For example, if a task is running behind schedule, I can easily see this in the software and take appropriate action such as reassigning resources or extending the deadline. Another key strategy that I use to keep track of project progress and adjusting plans as needed is to hold regular progress meetings. During these meetings, I bring together all team members to discuss the status of the project, including any issues or challenges that have arisen and any project plan and make any necessary adjustments. For example, if the project is running behind schedule, I might adjust the schedule by changing task dependencies or reassigning resources. In an example, I was working on a project to build a new website for a client. The project was running well, and I noticed that some of the tasks were taking longer than expected. I used project management software to track the progress of each task and noticed that the team was running into some technical difficulties. I quickly realized that we needed to bring in additional resources to help with the technical issues. I reassigned some of the tasks to the new resources and extended the deadline for the project. By doing this, we were able to complete the project on time and client was very pleased with the final product. Another example, in a different project, we were working on creating a new product for a company. We had planned to launch the product in 6 months, but as we were approaching the deadline, we realized that we were not on track to meet it. We held a progress meeting and identified that the product development process was taking longer than anticipated. We then went through the schedule and found ways to streamline the process, such as implementing a more efficient testing process and assigning additional resources to the project. By making these changes, we were able to launch the product on time and it was a great success. Overall, keeping track of project progress and adjusting plans as needed is an ongoing process that requires continuous monitoring and communication. By utilizing project management software and holding regular progress meetings, I'm able to stay on top of the project and make adjustments as needed to ensure its success. Question 22. How do you ensure that project deliverables are aligned with the overall business goals? As a project manager, it is essential to ensure that all project deliverables are aligned with the overall business goals of the organization. This helps to ensure that the project is not only completed successfully, but also that it is contributing to the overall success of the business. Here are two examples of how I ensure that project deliverables are aligned with overall business goals. Number one, regular meeting with stakeholders. I assure and schedule regular meetings with key stakeholders to discuss the project progress and ensure that the deliverables are aligned with the business goals. This includes reviewing the project scope, timelines, and budget, as well as discussing any potential issues or concerns. By keeping stakeholders informed and involved throughout the project, I'm able to ensure that the project is aligned with the business goals and that any changes or adjustments are made in a timely manner. Second, clear communication. I make sure to communicate clearly and consistently with all team members and stakeholders to ensure that everyone understands the project goals and how they align with the overall business goals. This includes communicating the project scope, timelines, and budget, as well as any changes or updates that may impact the project. By keeping everyone informed and on the same page, I'm able to ensure that the project is aligned with the business goals and that everyone is working towards the same objectives. Overall, by regularly communicating with stakeholders and keeping everyone informed and on the same page, I am able to ensure that project deliverables are aligned with overall business goals. This helps to ensure that the project is not only completed successfully, but also that it is contributing to the overall success of the business. Let's have a look at question number 23. How do you handle project delays or disruptions caused by external factors? As a project manager, one of the most challenging aspects of managing a project is dealing with delays or disruptions caused by external factors. These can include anything from natural disasters, changes in government regulations, or even problems with suppliers or vendors. However, with the right approach, it is possible to mitigate the impact of these disruptions and keep the project on track. The first step in dealing with project delays or disruptions caused by external factors is to have a solid project plan in place. This should include a detailed project schedule as well as contingencies for potential delays or disruptions. By having a clear plan in place, it becomes much easier to identify and address issues that may arise and to quickly get the project back on the track. Another important step is to have open and frequent communication with all stakeholders, including the project team, customers, and suppliers. By keeping all stakeholders informed about the status of the project and any potential delays or disruptions, it becomes much easier to work together to find solutions and to minimize the impact on the project. One example of a project delay caused by an external factor that I have dealt with as a project manager was a natural disaster. We were in the middle of a construction project and when a major storm hit, causing significant damage to the site. This resulted in a delay of several weeks while the site was cleaned up and repaired. In order to mitigate the impact of this delay, we worked closely with the suppliers and contractors to ensure that materials and labor were available as soon as possible. And we also revised the project schedule to take into account the additional time required and needed to complete the project. By working together as a team and having a clear plan in place, we were able to complete the project on time and within budget, and it was an overall success. Another example of a project disruption caused by an external factor that I have dealt with personally was a change in government regulations. We were working on a software development project when new regulations were introduced that required us to make significant changes to the project. This resulted in a delay of several months while we worked on the necessary changes. That took a lot of time. But to mitigate the impact of this disruption, we worked closely with our customers to ensure that they understood the situation and were able to provide input changes. We also revised the project schedule to take into account the additional time needed to complete the project, and by working together as a team yet again and having a clear plan again in place, we were able to complete the project on time and within the required budget. In conclusion, as a project manager, dealing with delays or disruptions caused by natural factors can be challenging, but with the right approach, it is possible to mitigate the impact and keep the project on track despite all of these external factors. By having a solid project plan in place and by maintaining open and frequent communication with all stakeholders, it becomes much easier to find solutions and to minimize the impact of all these external factors causing delay on the project. Let's look at question number 24 now. How do you adapt to changes in the project environment or industry? Adapting to changes in the project environment or industry is a crucial aspect of being a successful project manager. It requires flexibility, quick thinking, and the ability to think creatively to navigate unexpected challenges. Below are two examples of how I have adapted to changes in the project environment or industry in the past experiences. Example 1. A project that I was managing was initially focused on developing a new software product for a specific industry. But halfway through the project, the industry went a significant shift. The software we were developing was no longer relevant to the current market needs. To adapt to this change, I brought together the project team and stakeholders to re-evaluate the project's objectives and goals. We identified that the software's core functionality could be repurposed for a different industry. We then shifted our focus and redesigned the software to cater to the new marketing needs. We also identified a new partners in the new industry to collaborate with. By re-evaluating our project objectives and goals, we were able to successfully pivot the project and deliver a product that was still relevant and in demand. Let's look at the second example. Another project that I was managing was heavily reliant on a specific technology. However, during the project's execution, the technology became obsolete and was no longer supported by the vendor. To adapt to this change, I immediately brought together the project team and stakeholders to discuss potential alternatives. We evaluated different technologies and identified a suitable replacement that would still meet the project's object and goals. We then developed a plan to integrate the new technology into the project, including any transitions, any necessary training for the team as well. We also worked closely with the vendor to ensure a smooth flow. By quickly identifying and implementing a replacement technology, we were able to avoid delay complete the project on time. In both of these examples and experiences that I faced, I demonstrated a willingness to be adaptable and think creatively to overcome obstacles. As a project manager, it is essential to be able to identify changes in the project environment or industry, evaluate the impact, and develop a plan to address them in a timely manner. This ensures that the project's objectives and goals can still be met and the project remains on track. Additionally, it is important to effectively communicate with the project team and stakeholders to keep them informed of the challenges, the changes in the plan of the action, and the overall progress. This helps to maintain trust and alignment throughout the project. Here's question number 25. How do you negotiate with stakeholders to reach mutually beneficial agreements? As a project manager, negotiating with stakeholders to reach mutually beneficial agreements is an essential part of my role. The key to successful negotiation is to understand the needs and priorities of all stakeholders involved and to work toward finding a solution that meets those needs while also ensuring the success of the project. The first step in negotiating with stakeholders is to establish open and honest communication. This means being transparent about the project goals and objectives, as well as any constraints or challenges that may impact the project. By providing all stakeholders with clear and accurate information, they're more likely to understand and support the project and to be more willing to negotiate and compromise. Once communication is established, the next step is to actively listen and understand to the needs and priorities of all stakeholders. This may involve conducting stakeholder analysis, where I gather information on the stakeholders, including their roles, responsibilities, and key drivers. By understanding their needs and priorities, I'm better able to identify potential areas of conflict and to work towards finding solutions that meet the needs of all of the stakeholders. One example of this was on a construction project I managed. The project had a tight deadline and budget, but one of the stakeholders, the local community, had concerns about the impact of the construction on their daily life. Through active listening and communicating, I was able to understand their concerns and develop a solution that met their needs by implementing a construction schedule that minimized the impact on their daily lives while also meeting the project deadline and budget. Another example was on a software development project where we had a limited budget. but the client was all high with expectations on the features of the software. I had to negotiate and collaborate with the client to understand their business requirements and objectives, and with the development team to understand the feasibility of the features. We then had to prioritize the most important features to be implemented and compromise on some of the less important ones to meet the budget and client satisfaction. In conclusion, negotiating with stakeholders to meet and reach mutually beneficial agreements is an important part of as a project manager. To be successful, it is essential to establish open and honest communication, actively listen to and understand the needs and priorities of all stakeholders, and to work towards finding solutions that meet the needs of all stakeholders while ensuring that the project is under budget and is completed within the time frame that it is provided. Question 26. How do you handle requests for changes to project scope or timeline? It is important to have a clear process in place for handling requests for changes to project scope or timeline as a project manager. This process should involve the following steps. Step number one, assessing the request. The first step is to fully understand the request and assess its impact on the project. This involves reviewing the request, discussing it with the team and stakeholders, and determining the potential impact on the project timeline, budget, and scope. Number two, evaluating the feasibility. Once the impact of the request is understood, it is important to evaluate the feasibility of the request. This includes determining if the request can be accommodated within the existing project timeline, budget, and scope. It also includes potential risks and benefits of the request and how it might affect the overall project goals. Communicating with stakeholders. It is important to communicate with stakeholders about the request and its impact. This includes discussing the request with the project sponsor, stakeholders, and team members, and getting their input and buy in. It is also important to keep stakeholders informed throughout the process, including providing regular updates on any changes made to the project, scope, or timeline. Number three, making a decision. After assessing the request, evaluating the feasibility, and communicating with the stakeholders, a decision can be made. This decision should be based on the best interest of the project and its goals, while also taking into account the impact of the project timeline, budget, and scope. Number five, implementing and monitoring changes. If the request is approved, it is important to implement the changes and monitor the results. This includes updating the project plan, communicating any changes to the team and stakeholders, and ensuring that the changes do not negatively impact the project timeline, budget, and scope. Let us take two examples for this case. Example number one, a client requests a change in management of the project scope, asking for additional features to be added to the final product. As a product manager, I would first assess the request and determine the impact on the project timeline and budget. I would then evaluate the feasibility of the request by determining if it is possible to add the additional features within the existing project timeline and budget, and assess the potential risks and benefits. Next, I would communicate with the client and the project team, getting their input and buy in. After making a decision based on the best interests of the project and its goals, I would update the plan, communicate any changes to the team and stakeholders, and ensure that the changes do not negatively impact the project timeline and budget. Example number two, a team member requests an extension to the project timeline, stating that they will not be able to meet the original deadline due to unforeseen circumstances. As a project manager, I would first assess the request and determine the impact on the project timeline and budget. I would then evaluate the feasibility of the request by determining if the extension is possible and assessing the potential risks and benefits. Next, I would communicate with the team member and the project team, getting their input and buy in. After making a decision based on the best interest of the project and its goals, I would update the project plan, communicate any changes to the team and stakeholders, that the changes do not negatively impact the project budget. Question number 27 is awaiting us now. How do you gather and use feedback from stakeholders to improve project outcomes? As a project manager, gathering and using feedback from stakeholders is crucial to ensuring the success and effectiveness of a project. It allows for continuous improvement and adaptation to changing circumstances and helps to identify any potential issues or obstacles that might arise. One way to gather feedback is through regular meetings or check ins with stakeholders. These meetings should be scheduled at regular intervals throughout the project and should allow for open and honest communication about the project's progress, any challenges that have arisen, and any suggestions for improvement too. Another way to gather feedback is through surveys or questionnaires. These can be distributed to stakeholders at various stages of the project and can provide valuable insights into their perceptions and opinions about the project. Surveys and questionnaires can be administered online or in person and can be tailored to address specific aspects of the project, such as project scope, timelines, budget, and deliverables. Once feedback has been gathered, it's important to use it to make necessary adjustments and improvements. This can involve making changes to the project plan or schedule, reallocating resources, or revising project objectives and deliverables. For example, one project that I managed was a website redesign for a large corporation. Though regular meetings with the stakeholders, we discovered that the website navigation was not user friendly and the design was not visually appealing either. Based on the feedback, we made changes to the navigation and the design of the website, resulting in a more eco friendly, user friendly, and visually appealing one. The stakeholders were happy about the final project, and the project was considered a success. Another project I managed was an e commerce platform for a retail company. During the development phase, we received feedback from stakeholders that the platform was not mobile friendly. Based on the feedback, we make changes to the platform to make it mobile responsive, resulting in a better user experience for customers who access the platform from mobile devices. The stakeholders were pleased with the changes, and the platform was considered a stock success. In conclusion, gathering and using feedback from stakeholders is an essential part of project management. It helps to that projects are meeting the needs and expectations of all stakeholders and allows for continuous improvement and adaptation to changing circumstances. Let's then get to question number 28. How do you balance the needs of different stakeholders in your projects? As a project manager, balancing the needs of different stakeholders is a critical part of my role. Stakeholders include team members, clients, upper management, vendors, and other stakeholders with a vested interest in the project. Balancing the needs can be challenging, but there are several strategies that I use to ensure everyone's needs are met. Firstly, I establish clear communication with all stakeholders from the start of the project. This includes setting up regular meetings or check ins to discuss progress, concerns, and any potential roadblocks. By keeping everyone informed, I can anticipate potential issues and address them early on, avoiding delays and misunderstandings. Secondly, I prioritize the needs of stakeholders based on the project goals. This means that where there are conflicting needs, I focus on the needs that will ultimately benefit the project and its success. For example, if a client wants a feature added to the project, but the team members feel it will delay the project, I would weigh the pros and cons and make a decision that is in the best interest of the project as a whole. To better illustrate these strategies, I'll provide two examples of projects where I had to balance the needs of different stakeholders. Example 1: Website redesign project. I was tasked with leading a website redesign project for a client. One of the stakeholders was the client, who wanted a new design that would reflect their brand and attract more customers. Another stakeholder was the development team, who were responsible for implementing the design. During the project, the client requested additional features that would make the website more interactive and user friendly. However, these features would increase the scope and delay the launch date. In the scenario, I used clear communication to explain to the client that the additional features would delay the project and may not be feasible within the project timeline. I also provided an alternative solution that would still meet their needs but would not increase the project scope. By doing so, I was able to balance the client's needs with the project's goals and deliver a successful website design on time. Example 2: Software development project. I was leading a software development project for a client where the client wanted to launch the product as quickly as possible, while the development team wanted to ensure that the product was thoroughly tested and free of bugs. The stakeholders in this project were the client, the development team, and the quality assurance team. In this case, I used the strategy of prioritizing the needs of stakeholders based on project goals. I explained to the client that while we would do everything in our power to launch the product quickly that we can, the primary goal was to launch a high quality product that was free of bugs. I also worked closely with the development and QA teams to ensure that the product was thoroughly tested and any issues were addressed before launch. In the conclusion, balancing the needs of different stakeholders is a critical part of my role as a project manager. By using strategies such as clear communication, prioritizing needs based on project goals, and working closely with stakeholders, I can ensure that everyone's needs are met and the project is a success. Here's question number 29 for us. How do you encourage collaboration and teamwork with your team? As a project manager, encouraging collaboration and teamwork within my team is a critical aspect of ensuring successful project completion. I believe that effective collaboration and teamwork can lead to greater productivity, better problem solving, and more creative ideas. To foster collaboration and teamwork within my team, I implement the following strategies. Number one, clear communication. I encourage and transparent communication within the team. This means setting up regular team meetings and one on one check ins to discuss progress, challenges, and any other issues that need to be addressed. I also encourage team members to share their ideas, thoughts, and suggestions in order to generate new ideas and solutions. Number two, define roles and responsibilities. I make sure that each team member understands their role and responsibilities within the project. This includes setting clear goals and objectives for each team member and making sure that everyone is aware of how their role contributes to the overall success of the project. By defining roles and responsibilities, team members are more likely to collaborate and work together effectively. Number three, encourage teamwork. I foster a team environment where everyone is encouraged to work together. This can include team building activities, group problem solving exercises, and group brainstorming sessions. I also encourage team members to share their skills and knowledge with others, which helps to build trust and understanding between team members. Let's have a look at two of the examples that I personally got across. Number one, a team I managed was working on a project that required a lot of problem solving and creativity. To encourage collaboration and teamwork, I set up regular team meetings where everyone could share their ideas and thoughts on how to approach the problem. This helped to generate new ideas and solutions and also helped to build trust and understanding amongst team members. Second example, another team I managed was working on a project that required a lot of coordination between different departments. To encourage teamwork, I set up a system where each department had a dedicated representative who was responsible for communicating with other departments. This helped to ensure that everyone was aware of what was happening and also helped to build trust and understanding between team members. Additionally, I also encourage team members to share their skills and knowledge with others to help improve overall project performance. Question number 30. How do you handle unexpected issues or problems that arise during the project? As a project manager, handling unexpected issues or problems that arise during a project is an important part of my role. It requires quick thinking, problem solving skills, and the ability to communicate effectively with team members, stakeholders, and clients. Here are two examples of how I handle unexpected issues or problems during a project. Example number one, a key team member unexpectedly. Number one, identify the problem. The first step is to identify the problem and its impact on the project. In this case, the problem is that a key team member has unexpectedly left the project, which will likely cause a delay in the completion of tasks and potentially impact the overall project timeline. Number two, assess the impact. The next step is to assess the impact of the problem on the project. This includes identifying the tasks that the team member was responsible for, any dependencies on those tasks, and the potential impact on the overall project timeline. Number three, develop a plan. Once the impact of the problem has been assessed, the next step is to develop a plan to address it. This may include finding a replacement team member, reassigning tasks, or adjusting the project timeline. It's important to involve the rest of the team in this process to ensure that everyone is on board with the plan. Number four, communicate with stakeholders. The final step is to communicate the problem and the plan to address it with stakeholders, including the client. This includes being transparent about the impact of the project timeline and any potential changes to the project scope. Let's have a look at another example. A software bug is discovered during testing. Number one, identify the problem. The first step is to identify the problem and its impact on the project. In this case, the problem is that a software bug has been discovered during testing, which will likely cause a delay in the completion of tasks and potentially impact the overall project timeline. Number two, assess the impact. The next step is to assess the impact of the project on the problem. This includes identifying the tasks that are affected by the bug, any dependencies on those tasks, and the potential impact on the overall project timeline. Number three, develop a plan. Once the impact problem has been assessed, the next step is to develop a plan to address it. This may include finding a software developer to fix the bug, reassigning tasks, or adjusting the project timeline. It's important to involve the rest of the team in this process as well to ensure that everyone is on board with the plan. Number five, communicate with stakeholders. The final step is to communicate the problem and the plan. to address it with stakeholders, including the client. This includes being transparent about the impact on the project timeline and any potential changes to the project scope. In both these examples, my approach is to identify the problem, assess its impact, develop a plan to address it, and communicate with stakeholders. This approach allows me to quickly address unexpected issues or problems that arise during the project and minimize their impact on the project timeline and overall success. Let's look at question number 31. How do you manage project stakeholders and their expectations effectively? Managing project stakeholders and their expectations effectively is a critical component of successful project management. In order to effectively manage stakeholders and the expectations, a project manager must first understand who the stakeholders are and what their expectations are. This can be done through conducting stakeholder analysis, which involves identifying the stakeholders, analyzing their interests and expectations, and determining the level of influence they have on the project. Once this information is gathered, the project manager can then develop a plan to manage and engage with these stakeholders throughout the project. One key aspect of managing stakeholders and their expectations is communication. This includes ensuring that stakeholders are informed about project progress, risks, and issues, and that their feedback is actively sought and considered. This can be done through regular meetings, status updates, and project reporting. Additionally, it is important to establish clear lines of communication with stakeholders and to ensure that they have access to the information they need to effectively manage their expectations. Another important aspect of managing stakeholders and their expectations is managing their participation in the project. This includes identifying the appropriate level of involvement for each stakeholder and ensuring that they are involved in the decision making process at the appropriate time. This can be done through the use of stakeholder engagement plans, which outline the level of involvement, communication, decision making expected of each stakeholder. To illustrate these points, let's look at two examples of how project managers effectively managed stakeholders and the expectations. Example 1. A construction project manager was managing the construction of a new office building for a large company. The stakeholders for this project included the company's management team, employees, and local residents. The project manager conducted a stakeholder analysis and determined that the management team had the highest level of influence on the project, as they were responsible for making key decisions about the project. To manage the management team's expectations, the project manager ensured that they were kept informed about project's progress and issues through regular status updates and meetings. The project manager also established a clear lines of communication with them and ensured that they had access to the information they needed to effectively manage their expectations. Let's look at the second example. A project manager for a software development project was tasked with developing a new platform for a retail company. The stakeholders for this project included the company's management team, IT department, and customers. The project manager conducted a stakeholder analysis and determined that the IT department had the highest level of influence on the project as they were responsible for implementing the new platform. To manage the IT department expectations, the project manager ensured that they were involved in the decision making process throughout the project. The project manager also established a clear lines of communication with the IT department and ensured that they had access to the information they needed to effectively manage their work. The project manager also created a stakeholder engagement plan that outlined the level of involvement, communication, and decision making expected of the customers. the IT department, and management team to ensure that their expectations were met. In conclusion, managing project stakeholders and their expectations effectively is a critical component of successful project management. It requires a thorough understanding of the stakeholders and their expectations, active communication, and effectively participating. Management to ensure that stakeholders are engaged and informed throughout the project is extremely essential. By implementing these strategies, project managers can successfully manage stakeholders and their expectations, ultimately leading to a more successful project outcome. Question number 32. How do you handle project changes that impact the budget or resources? Well, as a project manager, one of the most important responsibilities is to manage project changes that impact the budget or resources. There are several strategies that can be employed to handle these changes effectively. First, it is important to have a clear change management process in place. This process should include a clear definition of what constitutes a change, a process for submitting and approving changes, and a process for monitoring and tracking the impact of changes on the project budget and resources. This will ensure that all changes are handled in a consistent and transparent manner, and that stakeholders are aware of the impact of changes on the project. Second, it is important to have a clear communication plan in place. This plan should include clear and regular communication with stakeholders, including the project sponsor, project team, and other key stakeholders. This will ensure that all stakeholders are part of any change and the impact on the project, and that any concerns or issues are addressed in a timely manner. For example, in a construction project, if the client decides to add a new floor to the building, it would be considered a change in the project. As a project manager, I would first consult with the client to understand their reasons for the change and determine whether it is necessary and feasible. If the change is approved, I would then work with the project team to estimate the additional costs and resources required for the change and revise the project budget and schedule accordingly. I would also communicate the changes to all stakeholders and ensure that the project team is aware of the additional resources required to complete the project on time and within budget. Another example is when a change occurs due to unexpected circumstances, such as a natural disaster that causes damage to the project site. In this case, as a project manager, I would immediately assess the impact of the disaster on the project and work with the project team to develop a plan to mitigate the damage and ensure that the project can continue. I would also communicate with the project sponsor and other stakeholders to inform them of the situation and the impact on the project budget and schedule. I would then work with the project team to revise the project budget and schedule and allocate additional resources as needed. In conclusion, handling project changes that impact the budget or resources is a critical aspect of project management. It requires a clear change management process, regular communication, and an ability to adapt to unexpected circumstances. As a project manager, it is important to be able to anticipate the managed change effectively in order to ensure that the project is completed on time and within budget. I hope you're now ready for question number 33 because that's the question that we're on now. How do you use data and metrics to track project progress and make decisions? As a project manager, one of the key ways to track progress and make decisions is through the use of data and metrics. There are many different types of data and metrics that can be used depending on the specific project and its goals. But some common examples include number one, task completion, One of the most basic metrics to track is the completion of individual tasks within a project. This can be tracked using a task management tool, spreadsheet, or other method, and can help to identify which tasks are on track and which are failing and falling behind schedule. Number two, budget and resource utilization. Another important aspect of tracking progress and making decisions is understanding how the project's budget and resources are being used. This might include metrics like the percentage of the budget that has been spent, the number of resources that have been allocated to different tasks, or the amount of time that has been spent on each task. Number three, performance metrics. Depending on the project, there may be specific performance metrics that are relevant to track. For example, if the project is related to a software application performance, metrics might include the number of bugs that have been found, the number of user accounts created, or the average time it takes for a page to load. Number four, customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction is an important aspect to track in any project. Customer feedback can be gathered through surveys, interviews, or NPS score. This can help project managers to understand the customer's perception of the project, identify any issues that need to be addressed, and make decisions about how to improve the project in the future. Let's have a look at two examples now. Example number one. For a construction project, a project manager will track progress of project by monitoring the physical completion of each task, such as laying the foundation, installing the plumbing, or putting up the walls. This helps to make sure that the project is on schedule and identify any issues that may cause the delays. They will also track the budget and resource utilization, making sure that costs are staying within budget and that resources are being used efficiently. Example 2. For a software development project, a project manager will track progress by monitoring the completion of individual tasks and subtasks, such as designing the user interface, coding specific features, or writing unit tests. Additionally, they will track performance metrics such as the number of have been identified or the percentage of test cases that are passing. Also, they will track customer satisfaction by gathering feedback from beta users and using this feedback to identify issues that need to be addressed and make decisions about how to improve the final product. Question number 34. How do you handle projects that require coordination with multiple teams or departments? As a project manager, coordinating with multiple teams or departments require clear communication, clear timelines, and a well-defined project plan. The following are two examples of how I have effectively handled projects that required coordination with multiple teams or departments. Example number one, website redesign project. Let's have a look at what the project was exactly. This project involved redesigning a company's website to improve the user experience and increase conversions. The project required coordination between the design team, development team, and the marketing team. Here was my approach to the project. I created a project plan that outlined the specifics for each team and set clear timelines for each task. I also established regular check ins and status updates to ensure that each team was on task and had the resources they needed. I also established a shared project management tool to ensure that everyone had access to the same information and could collaborate on the project. The outcome, the project was completed on time and within budget. The new website was launched to positive feedback and has seen an increase in conversions. Let's have a look at the second example then. New product launch. The project. This project involved launching a new product which required coordination between the project development team, sales team, and marketing team. Here's my approach to it. I developed a project plan that clearly outlined the tasks and timelines for each team. I also established a shared project management tool where all teams could collaborate on the project. I held regular team meetings to discuss progress, identify any issues, and make sure everyone was on track. I also created a clear communication plan for the launch of the product and the marketing campaign. Let's have a look at the outcome. The new product was launched on time and within budget. The product received positive feedback, and the sales team was able to generate significant revenue from the product. The marketing campaign was successful and generated a lot of leads for the product. In conclusion, as a project manager, it's crucial to develop a clear project plan that outlines the tasks and timelines for each team. It's also important to establish regular check ins, status updates, and a shared project management tool to ensure that everyone is on track and has the resources they need. Clear communication is also critical to ensuring that everyone is working together towards the same goal. Question number 35. How do you ensure project quality and integrity throughout the project lifecycle? As a project manager, there are several key practices and tools that can be used to ensure the quality and integrity of a project throughout its lifecycle. Number one, develop a detailed project plan. This should include clear project objectives, deliverables, timelines, and milestones. The project plan should also outline how quality will be managed and measured, including any quality standards that will be used. Number two, implement a robust quality management system. This should include processes for quality control, quality assurance, and quality improvement. For example, regular quality audits and inspections can be conducted to ensure that deliverables meet the quality standards while also identifying areas for improvement. Additionally, implementing a continuous improvement process such as a plan to check act cycle will help ensure that quality is consistently improved over time. Use project management software is a point number 3. 3. A robust project management software that can be used to track project progress, issues, and risks can be an effective tool for managing quality and integrity. This software can also be used to keep project team members and stakeholders informed about as well as to facilitate collaboration and communication. Have a look at an example. One project I managed was a software development project where the team was following Agile methodology. We had daily scrum call and sprint reviews where we were able to identify and address any quality issues early on before they became bigger problems. We also used automated testing to ensure that the code met our quality standards, and we had a dedicated QA team that worked closely with the development team to identify and fix bugs. Example number 2. Another project I managed was a construction project. In this project, we had established strict quality standards and we had quality inspector on site to ensure that these standards were being met. Additionally, we conducted regular quality audits to identify any issues and implement corrective actions. We also had regular meetings with the project team to discuss quality and safety, and we provided regular training for the team members on safety and quality standards. By following these practices, project managers can ensure that the project remains on track, deliverables meet the quality standards, and any issues are identified and addressed quickly and effectively as much as possible. Question number 36. How do you handle projects that involve sensitive or confidential information? As a project manager, Handling projects that involve sensitive or confidential information requires a high level of discretion and security measures to ensure that the information is protected and kept confidential at all times. Here are two examples of how I handle projects that involve sensitive or confidential information. Example number one, a project for a financial institution. For a project I managed for a financial institution, we were tasked with developing a new online banking platform that included sensitive customer information, such as account balances, transaction history, and personal identification numbers. To ensure the confidentiality of this information, we implemented a number of security measures, including the following. Number one, access control. Only authorized personnel were allowed access to the customer information and they were required to use multi factor authentication when accessing the system. Number two, encryption. All sensitive information was encrypted both in transitive and at rest. Number three, incident response plan. We developed an incident response plan that detailed the steps we would take in the event of a security breach or unauthorized access to the system. Number four, regular security audits. We conducted regular security audits to ensure that the system was up to date with the latest security protocols and to identify any potential vulnerabilities. Let's look at the second example, a project for a healthcare provider. For a project I managed for a healthcare provider, we were tasked with developing a new electronic medical record system that included sensitive patient information such as medical histories, diagnosis, and treatment plans. To ensure the confidentiality of this information, we implemented a number of security measures, including the following. Number one, access control. Only authorized personnel were allowed access to the patient information and they were required to use multi factor authentication when accessing the system. Number two, encryption. All sensitive information was encrypted both in transit and at rest. Number three, incident response plan. We developed an incident response plan that detailed the steps we would take in the event of a security breach or unauthorized access to the system. Number four, compliance with regulations. We ensured that the EMR system was compliant with relevant regulations such as HIPAA and that the system met the standards for patient privacy and security. In conclusion, handling projects that involve sensitive or confidential information requires a high level of security measures. These measures include several ones, such as access control, encryption, incident response, regular security audits, and compliance with relevant regulations. As a project manager, I make sure that these measures are in place to protect the sensitive information and maintain the confidentiality of the information at all times. Question number 37. How do you handle projects that require integration with other systems or technologies? As a project manager, managing projects that require integration with other systems or technologies requires a systematic and organized approach. The following are some of the steps I take to ensure successful integration. Number one, understand the requirements. The first step is to understand the requirements of the project, including the specific systems and technologies that need to be integrated. This includes conducting meetings with stakeholders and subject matter experts to gather information on the existing systems and technologies, as well as their capabilities and limitations. Number two, assess the risks. The next step is to assess the risks associated with the integration. This includes identifying potential issues that could arise during the integration process, such as compatibility issues, data migration challenges, and security risks. This helps to identify potential roadblocks and develop a plan to mitigate or avoid them. Number three, develop a plan. Based on the understanding of the requirements and the assessment of the risks, a plan is developed that outlines the steps required to complete the integration. This includes timelines, budget, resources, and milestones. Number 4. Test and validate. Once the plan is developed, testing and validation are conducted to ensure that the integration is successful. This includes testing the integration with different scenarios and validating that the data is flowing correctly between the systems and technologies. Number 5. Implement and monitor. Once the testing and validation is completed, the integration is implemented and the project is monitored to ensure that it is completed on time within budget. Regular progress reports are generated and any issues that arise are addressed promptly. Let's have a look at two examples. Example number 1. One project I managed required the integration of a new CRM system with the company's existing accounting software. This integration was critical for the sales and finance teams, as it would allow them to manage customer information and billing in one place. To ensure successful integration, I followed the steps outlined above. I met with the stakeholders and subject matter experts to gather information on the existing systems and technologies, assess the risks associated with the integration, and developed a plan that outlined the steps required to complete the integration. During the testability and validation phase, we discovered that there were compatibility issues with the existing accounting software. However, by working with the software vendors, we were able to resolve the issues and successfully complete the integration on time and within budget. Example number 2. Project I managed required the integration of a new e-commerce platform with the company's existing inventory management system. This integration was critical for the operations and customer service team, as it would allow them to manage online orders and inventory in real time. To ensure successful integration, I followed the steps outlined above. I met with the stakeholders and subject matter experts to gather information on the existing systems and technologies, assess the risks associated with the integration, and developed a plan that outlined the steps required to complete the integration. During the testing and validation phase, we discovered that there were data migration challenges with the existing inventory management system. However, by working with the IT team and data analysts, we were able to resolve the issues and successfully complete the integration on time and within budget. We're now at question number 38. How do you handle projects that involve complex or technical work? As a project manager, when dealing with projects that involve complex or technical work, there are several key strategies that I implement to ensure successful completion. First and foremost, I make sure to fully understand the scope and requirements of the project, including any technical or complex aspects. This includes reviewing any available documentation and conducting meetings with the project team and stakeholders. Ensure that everyone is on the same page. Next, I create a detailed project plan that outlines the steps required to complete the project, including any technical or complex tasks. This plan also includes timelines, resources needed, and potential risks or obstacles that may arise. One of the key strategies I use when managing projects that involve complex or technical work is to assemble a team of experts in the relevant fields. For example, On a recent project that involved the implementation of a new software system, brought on a team of developers and IT specialists who were well versed in the technology being used. This allowed us to effectively manage and complete the technical tasks required for the project. Another important strategy I use is to establish clear communication channels with the project team and stakeholders. This includes regular status updates and progress reports, as well as clear guidelines for escalation and decision making processes. This helps to ensure that everyone is aware of any issues or challenges that arise and can work together to resolve them in a timely manner. For example, on a project involving the construction of a newly manufacturing facility, I made sure to establish clear lines of communication between the engineering and construction teams to ensure that the facility would meet all technical specifications and safety requirements. Overall, managing projects that involve complex or technical work requires a thorough understanding of the project scope, a well crafted project plan, a team of experts, and effective communication channels. By implementing these strategies, I'm able to successfully navigate and complete projects that involve complex and technical works. Question number 39. How do you handle projects that require specialized skills or expertise? As a project manager, when faced with a project that requires specialized skills or expertise, I take the following steps to ensure successful completion. Number one, identify the specific skills or expertise needed. The first step is to clearly identify the specific skills or expertise required for the project. This may involve consulting with subject matter experts, reviewing project requirements, or discussing the project with the project. Number two, assess the availability of resources. Once the specific skills or expertise needed have been identified, I assess the availability of resources within the organization. This includes assessing the skills and expertise of the project team members, as well as identifying any resources that may be required. Number three, develop a plan for acquiring the necessary resources. Based on the availability of resources, I develop a plan for acquiring the necessary ones. This may include recruiting new team members, contracting with external consultants, or providing training for existing team members. Number four, monitor progress and provide support. As the project progresses, I monitor the progress of the project team to ensure that they have the necessary skills and expertise to complete the project. I also provide support and guidance as needed to ensure the project stays on track. Let's have a look at some of the examples. A project to develop a new software application. For this project, the specific skills and expertise required included software development, user experience design, and project management. I assessed the availability of resources within the organization and found that we had a strong team of software developers but were lacking in user experience design expertise. To acquire this expertise, I contracted with an external design to provide user experience design support for the project. I also provided training to the software development team or user centered design principles to ensure that they had the necessary skills and expertise to work effectively with the external design firm. A project to upgrade the company's IT infrastructure was another project that I worked upon. For this project, the specific skills and expertise required included network engineering, cybersecurity, and project management. I assessed the availability of resources within the organization and found that we had a team of network engineers, but were lacking in cybersecurity expertise. To acquire this expertise, I recruited a new team member with cybersecurity experience and provided training to the network engineer on the latest cybersecurity best practices. I also contracted with an external cybersecurity firm to provide additional support and guidance throughout the project. We're at question number 40 now. How do you handle projects that involve multiple languages or cultural differences? As a project manager, handling projects that involve multiple languages or cultural differences requires a number of strategies to ensure successful communication and collaboration. First, it's important to establish clear guidelines and protocols for communication, such as using a specific language or translation service for important documents and meetings. It can also be helpful to establish a buddy system where team members who speak different languages are paired up to assist with translation and understanding. Second, it's important to foster a culture of respect and inclusivity within the project team, which helps to ensure that everyone feels comfortable sharing their ideas and perspectives. This can be achieved through regular team building activities, communication training, and providing opportunities for team members from different cultures to share their knowledge and experiences. To support my answer further, I'll share two examples now. Example: a company decides to expand their business to a new country where the official language is different from the company's headquarters. For the IT project manager, it is crucial to hire a local project manager that is familiar with the language and the culture in order to facilitate the communication and to reduce the chance of misunderstanding. Example number two: a software development project is managed remotely with team members from multiple countries, different time zones, and different cultural backgrounds. In this case, the IT project manager should take a more virtual approach. The use of clear communication tools like video conferencing, instant messaging, and documentation platform is vital. Additionally, establish a set schedule for virtual meetings, set specific time limits and goals, and make sure everyone is on the same page. In both examples, by keeping in mind the challenges of working with people from different cultures and backgrounds, and by taking proactive steps to mitigate these challenges, the project manager can help to ensure the success of the project. Let's have a look at question number 41. How do you handle projects that involve working with remote or virtual teams? Working with remote or virtual teams as a project manager can present unique challenges, but with the right approach, it is possible to successfully manage and deliver projects. First, it is important to establish clear communication channels and protocols. This can include regular team meetings, both virtual and in person if possible, as well as regular check in and progress reports. Using project management tools such as Trello or Asana, it can also help to keep team members updated on progress and collaboration on tasks. Second, building trust and strong relationships with team members is vital. This can include regular one on one meetings to discuss individual progress and challenges, as well as opportunities for team members to get to know one another through social activities and team building exercises. Third, setting clear goals and expectations is important to ensure that team members understand the purpose of the project, what is expected of them, and how they can contribute to its success. This can also help to create a sense of shared ownership and accountability among team members. Here are two examples of how I have successfully project with remote teams. Example number 1. I was tasked with leading a software development project for a client located in a different country. The team was made up of developers, designers, and QA testers from both countries. To ensure that everyone was on the stage, we held weekly virtual meetings and daily stand up calls. We also used a project management tool to keep track of progress and collaborate on tasks. Through regular communication and clear goals, we were able to deliver the project on time and within budget. Example number two, I managed a remote team for an online marketing campaign for a major brand. The team was made up of designers, developers, and marketers from different parts of the world. To ensure that everyone was working together effectively, I scheduled weekly virtual meetings where we would discuss progress, goals, and any issues that had come up. We also used a project management tool to collaborate on tasks and share files. To build trust and camaraderie, I organized a team building retreat where everyone could meet in person. Through regular communication and clear goals, we were able to deliver the campaign on time and within budget. In conclusion, working with remote or virtual teams can be challenging, but with clear communication channels, strong relationships, and clear goals, it is possible to successfully manage and deliver projects. Let's have a look at question number 42 then. How do you handle projects that have tight deadlines or require rapid delivery? As a project manager, managing projects with tight deadlines or rapid delivery can be challenging, but can also be achieved with effect planning, clear communication, and efficient execution. Here are two examples of how I handle these types of projects. Example number one, rapid delivery of a website design. A client approached me with a request to make, design, and launch a website within a week. To achieve this, I immediately assembled a team of web designers and developers who had prior experience in delivering projects on a tight deadline. We held a kickoff meeting to discuss the scope of the project, the timelines, and deliverables. I also communicated the urgency of the project to the team and asked them to prioritize the most critical tasks. Next, I broke down the project into smaller tasks and assigned them to the team members, ensuring that everyone had a clear understanding of what was expected of them. We also set up daily check ins to monitor progress and ensure that the team was on track to meet the deadline. Additionally, we adopted an agile approach, which allowed us to make changes to the project as we went along and quickly address any issues that arose. In the end, we were able to deliver the website on time and the client was thrilled with the results. Let's have a look at the second example. Well, tight deadline for a software development project. A client approached me with a request to develop and launch a new software application within a month. To achieve this, I immediately assembled a team of software developers and set up a project plan outlining the scope, timelines, and deliverables. I also set up weekly meetings with the client to keep them informed of our progress and to get their feedback on the project. We also had regular teams to discuss any challenges or delays that arose and to develop a plan to overcome them. Additionally, we adopted a Scrum approach, which allowed us to deliver the software in small, incremental stages and to quickly address any issues that arose. In the end, we were able to deliver the software on time, and the client was very happy with the results. In both examples, I was able to deliver the projects on time by being proactive, setting clear goals and timelines, and communicating effectively with my team and the client. Additionally, by adopting an agile approach, we were able to quickly address any issues that arose and deliver a high quality product. Question number 43 awaits us now. How do you handle projects that involve working with clients or customers from different industries or sectors? As a project manager, working with clients or customers from different industries or sectors requires a specific approach that takes into account the unique challenges and opportunities that come with each project. Here are two examples of how I handle projects that involve working with clients or customers from different industries or sectors. Example number one, working with client in the healthcare industry. When working with a client in the healthcare industry, it's important to have a thorough understanding of the regulations and compliance requirements that come with this sector. In my experience, this includes ensuring that data privacy and security are in place and that any technology or software being used is compliant with industry standards. Additionally, I make sure to communicate regularly with my team to ensure that we are all on the same page regarding these requirements and that any questions or concerns are addressed in a timely manner. Working with a client in a retail industry is another example. When working with a client in the retail industry, it's important to understand the fast paced and customer focused nature of the sector. I make sure to have a clear and concise communication plan in place with regular check ins and updates on project progress. Additionally, I make sure to have a thorough understanding of the client's business and target audience so that I can tailor the project to their needs and ensure that it is aligned with their overall business strategy. Overall, the key to successful managing projects that involve working with clients or customers from different industries or sectors is to be adaptable, flexible, and willing to learn. By staying informed about the unique challenges and opportunities that come with each project, and by remaining in close communication with my team and my clients, I am able to deliver results that meet all of the expectations. Question number 44. How do you handle projects that involve working with clients from different domains? As an IT project manager, one of the most important aspects of successfully managing projects that involve working with clients or customers from different industries, sectors, or domains is to have a deep understanding of the specific needs, challenges, and constraints of each industry or sector. This understanding can be achieved through a combination of research, industry specific training, and direct experience working with clients or customers in those industries or sectors. One approach that can be helpful in understanding the needs and challenges of different industries or sectors is to conduct a thorough research of the specific market challenges that are unique to each industry or sector. This research can be done through online sources such as industry specific publications, blogs, and websites, as well as through direct interviews with industry experts and stakeholders. This, res- this research can provide valuable insights into the specific needs and challenges that clients or customers in those industries or sectors may face, as well as the best practices and solutions that can be used to address those needs. And another approach that can be helpful in understanding the needs and challenges of different industries or sectors is to invest in industry specific training and education. This can include attending conferences, webinars, and workshops that are focused on specific industries or sectors, as well as taking online courses or earning industry specific certifications. This type of training and education can provide valuable knowledge and skills that can be used to better understand the specific needs and challenges of clients or customers in those industries or sectors, as well as the best practices and solutions that can be used to address those needs and challenges. Examples of successful handling of projects that involve working with clients or customers from different industries or sectors or domains are as follows. One example of a project that involved working with clients or customers from different industries or sectors was a project to develop a new enterprise resource system for a manufacturing company. The client was in manufacturing industry and had specific needs and challenges that were unique to that industry, such as managing complex supply chain logistics and tracking production schedules. To understand the client's specific needs and challenges, the project team conducted extensive research on the manufacturing industry and interviewed industry experts and stakeholders. Additionally, the team invested in industry specific training and education, such as attending manufacturing specific conference and earning manufacturing specific certifications. This allowed the team to better understand the client's specific needs and challenges and develop a customized ERP system that was tailored to those needs and challenges. Another example of a project that involved clients or customers from different industries or sectors was a project to develop a new customer relationship management system for a retail company. The client was in the retail industry and had specific needs and challenges that were unique to that industry, such as managing inventory and tracking customer purchase patterns. To understand the client's specific needs and challenges, the project team conducted extensive research on the retail industry and interviewed industry experts and stakeholders. Additionally, the team invested in industry specific training and education, such as attending retail specific conferences and earning retail specific certifications. This allowed the team to better understand the client's specific needs and challenges and develop a customized CRM system that was tailored to those needs and challenges. In conclusion, to handle projects that involve working with clients or customers from different industries or sectors or domain, IT project managers must have a deep understanding of the specific needs, challenges, and strengths of each industry or sector. This can be achieved through a combination of research, industry specific training, and direct experience working with clients or customers in those industries or sectors. By using these strategies, IT project managers can develop customized solutions that are tailored to the specific needs and challenges of their clients or customers in different industries or sectors. Ultimately, I hope that you're pumped for the next question. Question number 45. How do you handle difficult or challenging situations in your projects? As a project manager, handling difficult or challenging situation in projects is a regular part of my job. There are several strategies that I employ to effectively manage these type of situations. First, I always try to maintain a positive attitude and remain calm. This helps me to approach the situation with a clear and level mind, allowing me to make logical and informed decisions. Second, I gather as much information as possible about the situation at hand. This includes talking to team members, stakeholders, and other relevant parties, as well as researching any background information that may be relevant. This helps me to understand the scope of the situation and to identify potential solutions. Third, I communicate regularly with my team and stakeholders to keep them informed about the situation and any actions that are being taken to resolve it. This helps to build trust and ensure that everyone is working towards the same goal. Two examples of difficult or challenging situations that I have handled in the past are as follows. Number one project I was managing was running behind schedule due to delays in the delivery of some key components. This created a lot of stress and uncertainty among the team, and stakeholders were becoming increasingly concerned about the project's progress. To address this situation, I gathered detailed information about the delays and worked closely with the suppliers to find ways to expedite the delivery of the components. I also delivered a new schedule that incorporated the delays and communicated this plan to the stakeholders to keep them informed. Through these efforts, we were able to get the project back on track and deliver it on time. Another project I was managing faced a crisis when a key team member unexpectedly resigned, leaving a critical role unfulfilled. This created a lot of uncertainty and disruption to the project, and stakeholders were concerned that it would have a negative impact on the project's success. To address this situation, I immediately began searching for a replacement team member. In the meantime, I reorganized the team and reassigned some of the tasks to other members to minimize the impact of the departure. Through these efforts, we were able to find a replacement team member, and the project was completed successfully. In both of these examples, my approach was to remain calm, gather all relevant information, communicate effectively with the team and stakeholders, and develop and implement a plan to resolve the situation. Through these strategies, I was able to effectively manage the difficult or challenging situations and ultimately ensure the success of the projects. Question number 46. How do you build trust and credibility with your team and stakeholders? Building trust and credibility with one's team and stakeholders is crucial for the success of an IT project. Here are two examples of strategies that can be used to build trust and credibility. Number one, communicate openly and transparently. One of the most effective ways to build trust and credibility is to communicate openly and transparently with your team and stakeholders. This means being upfront about any challenges or issues that may arise during the project and providing regular updates on progress, timelines, and deliverables. For example, as an IT project manager, you may establish regular team meetings and send out weekly or bi weekly project report status that detail project progress and any challenges that have arisen. Additionally, you can make sure that any risks or concerns are communicated quickly and clearly to all stakeholders so that they understand the potential impact on the project and take the necessary actions. Number two, deliver on your commitments. Another key strategy for building trust and credibility is to deliver on your commitments. This means ensuring that your team is able to meet project timelines and deliverables, and that you are able to deliver high quality results that meet the needs of your stakeholders. For example, as a IT project manager, you may establish clear, measurable project goals and milestones and work closely with your team to ensure that they are on track to deliver results. Additionally, you may establish performance metrics and regular reviews to ensure that your team is meeting the project objectives and delivering results that meet the need of your stakeholders. In conclusion, building trust and credibility with your team and stakeholders is crucial for the success of an IT project. Communicating openly and transparently and delivering on your commitments are two effective strategies that can help you establish trust and credibility with your team and stakeholders. As an IT project manager, it is important to establish regular communication channels and make sure that your team is able to deliver high quality results that meet the need of your stakeholders. Question number 47. How do you adapt to different leadership styles or management approaches? Adapting to different leadership styles or management approaches as an IT project manager requires flexibility, adaptability, and a strong understanding of different management theories. There are several key strategies that can help a project manager adapt to different leadership styles or management approaches. First, it is important to understand the different management theories and leadership styles that exist. For example, some leaders may focus on autocratic leadership, where decisions are made by the leader with little input from others. Others may focus on democratic leadership, where decisions are made by the team as a whole. Understanding these different approaches can help a project manager adapt to the style of the leader they're working with. Second, it is important to build relationships and communication channels with the leader or management team. This can help a project manager understand the goals and priorities of the leader and ensure that the project is aligned with these. Strong communication channels can also help a project manager identify any challenges or obstacles that may arise during the project and work with the leader to find solutions. Two examples of adapting to different leadership styles or management approaches are following. Example number one, a project manager working on a IT project with an autocratic leader. In this case, the project manager would need to focus on clear communication and regular updates to the leader, as well as ensuring that all decisions are made in accordance with the leader's preference and priorities. The project manager would also need to be prepared to make quick decisions and take action without waiting for input from other team members. Example number two, a project manager working on an IT project with a democratic leader. In this case, the project manager would need to focus on building strong relationships and communication channels with the team members and ensuring that everyone has a say in decision making. The project manager would also need to be prepared to take into account the opinions and suggestions of other team members and ensure that everyone is working towards the same goals. In conclusion, adapting to different leadership styles or management approaches as an IT project manager requires a good understanding of different management theories, building good relationships and communication channels with the leader, and understanding the goals and priorities of the leader. Through this, a project manager can make sure that the project is aligned with the leader's approach and everyone is working towards the same goals. Let's now get to question number 48. How do you handle feedback or criticism in a constructive manner? As a project manager, it is important to handle feedback and criticism in a constructive manner in order to improve the overall success of the project. To do, I follow a few key steps. Number one, listen actively. When receiving feedback or criticism, it is important to actively listen and understand the concerns being raised. This means paying attention to the person speaking, acknowledging their points, and asking clarification questions if necessary. Number two, separate the person from the issue. It is important to separate the person providing the feedback or criticism from the issue being discussed. This means focusing on the specific problem or concern and not personalizing it. Number three, remain calm and professional. It can be difficult to receive criticism or feedback, but it is important to remain calm and professional in order to maintain a positive and productive conversation. Number four, seek to understand. Before responding to feedback or criticism, it is important to seek to understand the issue and the reasoning behind it. This means looking at the problem from all angles and considering different perspectives. Number five, respond thoughtfully. Once you have a clear understanding of the issue and the reasoning behind it, respond thoughtfully and constructively. This means offering solutions or suggestions for improvement and being open to feedback on your own suggestions. Let's have a look at two examples. Example number one. During a project, one of the stakeholders provided feedback that they felt the project was not progressing as quickly as they would like. In order to handle this feedback in a constructive manner, I first listened actively and acknowledged their concerns. I then separated the person from the issue by focusing on the specific problem of the project not progressing quickly. I remained calm and professional during the conversation and sought to understand the reasoning behind the feedback. I then provided a detailed plan for how I would address the issue, including specific steps I would take to speed up the project and regular progress updates to the stakeholder. Example number two. A team member provided feedback that they felt communication was poor within the team. To handle this feedback in a constructive manner, I first listened actively and acknowledged the team members' concerns. I separated the issue by focusing on the specific problem of poor communication. I remained calm and professional during the conversation and sought to understand the reasoning behind the feedback. I then established regular team meetings, implemented a clear communication plan, and provided training on effective communication techniques for team members. By following these steps and handling feedback and criticism in a constructive manner, I'm able to improve the overall success of the project and maintain a positive and productive working environment. Here's question number 49. How do you handle team members who are not meeting customer or client expectations? Here's the answer to it. As a project manager, it is my responsibility to ensure that all team members are meeting customer or client expectations. If I notice that a team member is not meeting these expectations, my first step would be to have a one on one conversation with them to understand the underlying issue. This could be due to a lack of training or understanding of the project goals and expectations, or it could be a personal issue that is impacting their performance. Once I understand the issue, I will work with the team member to develop a plan to address it. This could involve additional training or mentoring, setting clear performance goals and expectations, or adjusting the responsibilities within the team. I will also establish a regular check in schedule to track progress and ensure that the plan is working as intended. In addition to addressing individual performance issues, I will also work to create a positive team environment that promotes communication and collaboration. This includes fostering open lines of communication, encouraging team members to share their ideas and concerns, and promoting a culture of accountability and responsibility. Let's have a look at two examples. Example number one. A team member was consistently missing deadlines for a client project. On investigation, it was discovered that they were not clearly communicating their progress to the team, leading to confusion and delays. To address this issue, we implemented a new project management tool that allowed for real time updates and progress tracking. We also established a weekly team meeting where team members were required to give an update on their progress. This helped to improve transparency and accountability, and the team member was able to meet deadlines moving forward. Example number two. A team member was receiving negative feedback from clients regarding their customer service skills. After discussing the issue with them, it was discovered that they were feeling overwhelmed and stressed due to personal issues. To help address this, we worked with them to develop a plan to manage their workload and improve their time management skills. We also provided additional training on effective communication and customer service techniques. The team member was able to improve their performance and received positive feedback from clients moving forward. Here's question number 50 waiting for us. How do you handle team members who are not meeting deadlines or schedules? As a project manager, it is important to address any issues with the team members not meeting deadlines or schedules in a timely and effective manner. This can be accomplished through a combination of communication, setting clear expectations, and utilizing various management techniques. First, it is important to communicate with the team member in question to understand the root cause of the issue. Are they experiencing any challenges or roadblocks that are preventing them from meeting their deadlines? Are there any external factors that are impacting the ability to meet the commitments? Once these underlying issues have been identified, it is important to work with the team member to develop a plan to overcome them. In addition to addressing the underlying issue, it is also important to set clear expectations for deadlines and schedules. This can be accomplished through regular project updates, creating detailed project timelines, and setting clear milestones and deadlines. By providing team members with clear expectations, they will have a better understanding of what is expected of them and when, which can help them stay on track and meet their commitments. Another key strategy for managing team members who are not meeting deadlines or schedules is to utilize various management techniques. For example, if a team member is consistently missing deadlines, it may be necessary to set up regular check ins or progress reports to ensure they are staying on track. Additionally, if a team member is having difficulty managing their workload, it may be necessary to provide additional resources or support to help them manage their time more effectively. Let's have a look at two examples. Example number one of my team members, John, was consistently missing deadlines on a critical project we were working on. After investigating the issue, I discovered that John was having difficulty managing his work and was feeling overwhelmed by the number of tasks he had to complete. To address this, I worked with John to prioritize his tasks and provided him with additional resources and support to help him manage his time more effectively. As a result, John was able to meet his deadlines and the project was completed on time. Example number two, another team member, Rachel, was having difficulty meeting the deadlines for a project we were working on. After communicating with Rachel, I discovered that she was experiencing some personal issues that were impacting her ability to focus on her work. Address this, I provided Rachel with some flexibility in her schedule and gave her additional time to complete her tasks. Additionally, I provided her with additional resources and support to help her manage her workload more effectively. As a result, Rachel was able to complete the project on time and to the satisfaction of the client. In conclusion, effectively managing team members who are not meeting deadlines or schedules requires a combination of communication, setting clear expectations, and utilizing various management techniques. The underlying issues, providing clear expectations, and utilizing effective management techniques. It is possible to help team members meet their commitments and deliver successful project outcomes. Friends, we hope the questions and the answers were helpful to you and will bring you fruitful results in your next project manager interview. Stay tuned for the second part of 100 project manager interview questions and answers, where we will be covering questions from 51 to 100. Do not forget to like, share, and comment on the video, and subscribe to CareersTalk for more such content.